आंसर 40 है। कहाँ बैठा है? अरे अपना सर में होता है।
अंदर बैठा है।
मैं वहाँ बैठा हूँ, तुम भी यहाँ पीछे। भाई कौन सा लोग हैं? म्यूजिक भी सीखते हैं। अरे मैं म्यूजिक सीखता हूँ। नहीं। सोचना सर से 3 क्वेश्चन दिया उसमें हमारे नहीं 2 क्वेश्चन है ये। अरे 500 का दे दो।
अबे भाई मेरे को ये
प्लेटफॉर्म को हुआ आ गया। मेरा क्लास होता है। कौन सा क्लास है? प्रोग्राम बताओ। मैं बोलता हर वेडनेसडे। अब इतना पे यार कैसा है? मेटा का डिश बोलो मेटा। या तो लेक्चर है। मेटा है। आए। मैं पढ़ो।
हमें ये चुप
So lots of लोग मिलके सीरियस हेल्प करेंगे। नहीं मैं जाने वाला। मैं भी जाने वाला।
कहाँ से कैसे?
ये देखो बर्थडे पार्टी आने वाला है। आयुष के।
यार
घंटा वो बुलाया नहीं उसने वीडियो में वो नहीं बुलाया नहीं बुलाया
तो क्यों तेरे को क्यों आयुष के बर्थडे पर?
हाँ। इसको बुलाया चाइना को बुलाया और 3-4 लड़कियों को बुलाया श्रेयांश को बुलाया
क्यों नहीं आएगा?
मेरे को मम्मी पूछ रही थी आयुष मेरे साथ मेरे को बोल रहा था कि तुझे बोला नहीं क्या बोला मुझे कुछ नहीं
वो कुछ नहीं बोलेगा इसके बाद भी लगता है क्या
बता तुझे
अरे मौत साहब
हम लोग मौत से की क्लास
में आ
मैं आयुष हम सब लोग आयुष हम सब एक ही क्लास में आ रहे हैं
मौत एक ही क्लास में मौत
से अभी तक
मौत से साथ में में कौन था
हां
एक में कौन था
चमन वो गाली है वो मत था
तेरे को पता नहीं लगी
कोई कुछ करने वाला फोटो दिखा दे फोटो दिखाओ यार
अरे मैं क्या बोल रहा हूं तो फिर मौत का फोटो दिखा 4 पे 5 6 से तुम लोग भी थे हमारी क्लास में अभी नहीं इसकी बात ही कर रहे हैं 5th तक थी हम लोग 5th में अलग हुए थे पर इधर 5th में नहीं अलग हुआ था इधर 1 टाइम से तुम लोग कि 4th में बता दो 4th में थोड़ी भी यस तू कब आया था एक क्लास में हां तू कब आया था एक क्लास में सेकंड डे तो सेकंड डे से अभी 9 डे चल रहा है कितने साल हो गए 7
अरे मॉड 1 से इतना पागल है कि मॉड का बच्चा
सेकंड सर्वी का 4 साल 5 साल होगा 5 साल के कम हो गए इतना कम हो गया
तभी बच्चों दे रहे हम लोग
तो ये तो कुछ समझता है नहीं हफ्ते रहते थे पैंट
तू हफ्ता था नल्ले तू भी हगा मेरे को बोलने मत लगा
नहीं सब लोग हगे नहीं
एक हगा कभी स्कूल में कभी यहां स्कूल आया भी ना कभी जिंदगी में आया बोल रहा है
पहले आया हम दोनों पहले
हां उससे पूछ कितने आता था
पहले रोज
मत कर मेरे को लगता है संडे को भी आता है ये क्या किया मेरे को लगता है संडे को भी आएगा आर्या वासुदेव पाटिल व्हाट आर यू डूइंग आर्या मिस्टर आर्या वासुदेव पाटिल सन ऑफ वासुदेव इंडस्ट्रीज माता किसको ओए कुछ करने वाला था इसकी रिमोट मैं सुना तू कुछ तो करने वाला था ये कैमरा पर का तोड़ने पड़ने की बातें चल रही थी हमारी ये कब हुआ झूठ मत बोला तो यही बेटे ने बोला कैमरा तोड़ देगा कैमरा तोड़ देते करके बोल रहा था
ये वैसे क्या ही समझ
ओ लिखा भी अबे ला मेरे मीडिया पर क्या है मैं मारूंगा
सुना रशीद से फाइट करता है ठीक है
कौन
ये औकात नहीं
अच्छा मारूंगा दूसरा दिला
कांग्रेसी राज माधुरी की थी
क्या
अर्जुन के साथ ही बैठा था मैच साल में
हां
शिविर को आना चाहिए जो लोग बुलाने का एक सेकंड यूएस पार्टी को दे रहा है
वीआईपी पार्टी
देना पड़ेगा ये
ये हम लोग ये जाना हार्ड रॉक मैं हमारा डीपीटी है जब यार मेरा सामने फोटो ए पाजी कब देगा यार
क्या देने वाले
हां मेरे तो प्रोफाइल कुछ सिलेक्ट करके देने वाला अब तक ध्यान नहीं है
कितना कैजुअली बोलता है ना तो यार
इसमें उन्होंने तुम तो हरा नहीं चेक
नहीं ये मेरा कितना कैजुअली बोलता है
यार से
8 प्लस
तू घर पे जाके नहाता है
अच्छा क्या ठीक है देखो जल्दी हटो
अरे वो क्या कर रहे हैं मैं ये तो देगा
अबे सुई को दिखा तो रहेगी
आज का कल का ये परसों का ऐसा रोज निकालता हूँ।
दिखाना एक दिखा
अगर वो ये चीजें करते थे
देखो
मेरे को भी निकालना पड़ेगा तो वो भी फेवरेट
हमें डॉलर से नीचे दिख गया तो गलती से
नहीं किया उसके तो मैं ये कर देता अरे मैं कुछ समझ में बता
बाकी बजाएगा ना
राजेश का कोई पाएगा इसी
रिचार्ज हटा दिया रिचार्ज
यार आराम से यार कोई ने देखा तो नहीं क्या
क्या क्या
कोई वॉशरूम आ रहा है
कैसा है
अच्छा
अरे ये सब क्या है
जाना है हाँ नहीं बैठे रहेंगे
हैप्पी
आराम से
ये मैम ये है
कौन है
अरे ये बायो की
हाँ एक चल आराम से अरे भाई मैं आना पड़ेगा तू पहली बार कभी नहीं आया एक तो गए थे ना उसने एमबीबीएस उसे प्रिंटर खराब हुआ था
एमबीबीएस
प्रिंटर खराब हुआ कुछ भी नहीं किया अरे कुछ नहीं किया था मैं वॉशरूम फोन दे देता हूँ कैसे रिजल्ट आ रहा है
मेरा नहीं है
Here the rest.
No.
All of them together.
Yes.
What was the last topic we were discussing? What was it?
And we finished the pesticides. And we have to start the storage of grains.
Storage part.
Now,
Is that anywhere? Now look into you got your volume, all of you? Two. We are doing chapters of volume 2 now. Now look into your volume 2. We are into the last part of the chapter today. The last part of the chapter we are to complete.
This is last chapter of biology.
It is
Is it the last chapter?
one more left, natural resources. Only that. That's the last chapter. So, next is, we are talking about crop protection management. Look into that. Crop protection management, page number 149. Crop protection management. Now, another concept, take a pencil. Take a pencil. We will underline important terms, crop protection management. So another concept of crop protection management, what is something important that you should take a note? What are some important concepts that you should take a note? The first one is, when you are talking about protection, meaning after the harvest, now that you store them. Underline pesticides. Pesticides has to be used. What are the different types of protective chemicals? Underline all of these words. Take these words. You are supposed to remember these words. Herbicides, pesticides, weedicides. These are different type of chemicals. Fungicides for fungus, pesticides. Then we talk about the weedicides. So these are the different type of chemical substances. Then harmful effects. What are some of the harmful effects of spraying these type of, now say supposed to be spray the insecticides or pesticides in our own homes also. In our own homes also we do sometimes spray. Is it good for our health? It is not actually good for our health, no, because when we spray them, we may be inhaling them also, and when we inhale them, it goes into, by the process of diffusion from the way of the lungs, it may enter into our blood, go to our tissues, which is not at all a good functional aspect for our body at all. But yes, sometimes we have to use in case. So now that we are talking about the harmful effects, take these 2 points there. What are some of the harmful effects? Environmental pollution is very much, and they of course affect the health. Take this too. When we are talking about environmental pollution, yes, they of course bring about a whole lot of environmental pollution.
I'm talking about pesticides in our own homes. Now that may not cause so much of air pollution, only a little bit. But think about the pesticides which are sprayed in huge quantities in the agricultural land. In huge quantities they are applied on the land. Can you think how the use of pesticides on the land, how pesticides on the land can cause pollution? Because these pesticides on the land, they would more or less be washed away by the irrigation into the nearby water body. So I talk about the agricultural land, pesticides are applied, and now that the pesticides are there, what will happen? Now that the pesticides are there on the land, if there is too much of rainfall or too much of irrigation, the soil is washed away with the pesticides into the nearby river pollution, water pollution. And now that so much of pesticides is applied, air pollution also. So application of pesticides, fungicides, weedicides sometimes do really save the crop, but in most of the cases contribute to a huge lot of pollution. So remember, this is what you'll have to justify. Weed control. What are weeds? Small plants. Are they good plants? Desirable? They are unwanted plants. So now that we are talking about the weeds, these are all unwanted plants. Weeds are unwanted plants which grow with the main crop, main plant. But then what will be the problem if they are growing with the main crop? Why should not we allow them grow? Let them grow. What is the problem?
And they can affect the
growth of the main plant. Now something like, if you are two brother, sister at home, and if 6 of your cousins now start entering, 6 of your cousins have come out, but then the amount of food in your kitchen is the same. Are you both now getting the same amount of food? No. Your mother has brought the same amount of food for both of you, your brother and you, or you and your sister. But now the next day 6 of your cousins come. So they are going to share your food. The amount of food that you are getting is lesser. So that is what is happening. So when weeds come up, the main plant is not able to get so much of nutrients. The weeds are also absorbing so much. So that's the reason whenever we get to see any unwanted plant along with the main plant that we are growing, just uproot them and throw them. Why uproot and throw?
Because they are not being used.
Because ultimately they are not going to give you any fruit flower. They are only going to utilize the nutrients of the soil. So better uproot them so that the main plant gets adequate amount of nourishment. Then next is, look into the next chapter. The next page there. Look into the next page. How can you control weeds? Mechanical method. Tick that. That's important. Mechanical method. When we are talking about the mechanical method, how can we, what are some mechanical methods of, next page, 150. Mechanical methods. So which are some mechanical methods of weed control? Mechanical methods of weed control are what? Mechanical methods of weed control would be just pluck them and throw them. No, just plucking and throwing them. Mechanical method. Just pluck and throw, pluck and throw, pluck and throw. Mechanical method. So when we are talking about mechanical methods of weed control, this means we are talking about just plucking them and throwing them so that they are not competing with the main plant for nutrition. Next method. Mostly 2 ways to deal with them. Either constantly uproot and throw, or else make green manure. What was green manure? The weeds we don't want to throw them because these are also plant parts. And if you are able to mix them with the soil, they will decompose and make the soil even more fertile. So while weeds are there in the soil, plow them often. So when you are plowing them often, what's happening? The weed is getting mixed with the soil. The weed is getting mixed with the soil, and these weeds, which are nothing but plants, are going to decompose and give nutrition to the soil itself. So that is called green manure. Take this storage. Storage. The storage. Read these points. Storage. Read this
Preventive
point.
measures.
Storage of grains. एक बार पढ़ो. Check if there's any. These are very simple points. Storage.
Storage of grains.
Grains. Storage of grains.
One.
I said storage of grains for these points are important. Storage of grains for. Understanding the points?
Yes, Miss.
Now, when we are talking about storage of the grains, so is storage really very important? Can we just store the huge amount of rice produced in a field, the pulses and the grains and the nuts produced just as it is? What should we do? Ensure that no organisms start growing on them. What are some of the major type of animal forms or organisms that may damage the crops and the insects, correct? Rats, cockroaches, insects, and even fungi. Bacteria. So we should try making, we should try developing the correct method of storage, like the grain or the pulses or the rice that we are storing, first of all, should be dried enough. Why? Because if it is moist, then fungal infection will start. Followed by some other infections, and that corn or that rice or that paddy or that wheat will not be fit for consumption anymore. Are you able to understand a very good quality of dal and some cheap quality of dal? Able to understand? I talk about a very good quality of rice and some very bad quality of rice. Yes, because there will be some black spots on it.
And
That's
powder flakes.
Powdery, most of them will be broken. I talk about the dal and the pea and the different type of gram. If it is a nice, proper quality, good quality, the entire seed would be so nice in shape and neat and clean and no holes in it. But there may be quite a number of other varieties, just maybe 10 rupees less or 15 rupees less only, where you will come across that there are so much of holes and then the skin does not appear to be smooth. So from that, for the rice and the fruits and the crops and the vegetables, everything, we are able to understand that whether the quality is good or bad. Now, look into some points I asked you to read. Most crops are harvested only once in a year. So that's the reason protection is necessary.
Yes.
Rice is harvested in the month of April. No? March, April. Rice is harvested in the month of March, April. But say suppose now 100 quintals of rice are obtained. But will the farmer be able to sell this 100 quintal just in 2 days? No. He may need almost about 6-7 months to sell this because he is not the only producer of rice. There may be another 20 producer of rice. So the market, some shop will buy his rice, some other shop is going to buy another person's rice. So it's not that the farmer who is producing 20 quintals of rice or 200 quintals of rice is going to get a distributor very soon. He'll not get a buyer very soon. So that means what he has to do. He knows that there are another 20 rice sellers, but I have produced 200 quintal. I cannot sell all of them in the market at 1 or 2 days. So that means what?
Yes.
I can give to the market only 10 kilos per day. And the huge amount I have to store them properly. If I don't store, by 6 months time my grains will all start getting infected by different type of organisms. So In India, most of the time we come across that there are seasonal rainfalls. Next is activities at plenty during selective time. Okay. Number one, tick number one, that's very important. For getting seasonal food regularly throughout the year, they are stored in safe storage. So quite a number of times he says, now say suppose we talk about the pear and we talk about the mangoes. Mangoes, basically the process of storage is difficult. So that's the reason mangoes we got till August. In the month of September, did we see mangoes? Hardly. And now in the month of October, November, December, January, you're not going to see only mangoes in the month. But if I talk about cauliflower, I talk about the pear. Now these different type of fruits and crops, we get almost entire year. Why? Why do we get certain fruits and crops almost all throughout the year? We get them almost all throughout the year because
they are producing a large amount and then stored.
They are producing large amount and stored also properly. So they are stored properly in large quantities. They are stored properly. So take the third point. Storage loss due to improper methods can happen. And during storage, damage of grains take place by two different ways. What are those? During the tick those terms, biotic and abiotic. During storage, there may be damage to the grains by two different methods. Biotic. What's the meaning of biotic? Living organisms. Damage by living organisms. Biotic components. Damage by biotic organisms. Biotic components. So when I say biotic, what are you supposed to understand? There may be rodents, rats. There may be rodents or there may be insects, cockroaches, any. So they may be destroying the crop. They may be destroying the crop. Then abiotic, if there is too much of moisture, will the grain and the seeds start getting infected by fungal infection? Yes. In our own homes also we get to see. Now in this last 3 months, storing the grain and any other type of food was a bit difficult. But henceforth, now that we talk about October, November, December, January, if you don't keep the bread packet outside, if you forget to keep the bread packet in the fridge, then also not a problem. Till 3-4 days you can eat that. But in the monsoon time, was that okay? No. By mistake also, if you forget to keep the bread packet in the fridge, you get to see probably, if not next day, after 1 day, sure it is going to have those green spots, black spots, white spots because fungal infection has already happened. Next is control measures, preventing and control measures. So what is meant by control measures? What should we do? Control measures, control measures matlab what to do? How can we tackle this problem? Preventive and control measures are used before grains are secure. Now I talk about one of the most preventive methods is sun drying. Did you ever see? Even in Mumbai also we get to see, especially near the banks of the river, beaches of the sea. Now that it will be hot sun, October, November, December, hot sun will be now.
October sun is the worst.
Don't say worst, better than the rains. No?
It's too hot.
It is hot, but
winter season is.
Winter we don't have, no? Here where winter?
Kind of winter.
Last year, like the temperature was 15 to 10 degrees.
Last year little bit it was. Otherwise, just for 2-3 days, yes. Around Makar Sankranti time, only 2-3 days it was really cold. But generally, if you talk about this place, do we actually have winter now that you talk about November approaching? October is hot. And by the mid of November, it will be a bit cool again. And that's the best part, November, December, January, But this 4 months in most of the part of our country is extremely cold. Do you wear your sweaters in these months? We don't need it. In Pune it's comparatively cold. So here we don't need So now that we
in
have
December, most of the Mumbaikars wear sweats.
early morning for jogging,
No, ma'am.
not during the day.
During the day also.
You wear. We don't need wear during the day. We need. Now, so this is underline these two terms. Biotic, you will be asked. Biotic, abiotic factors are what? And preventive and control measures. These are not very difficult parts of the chapter. So there's nothing very descriptive to discuss about. Right, 2 questions on this and then we move on to the next part of the chapter. Take out a notebook. Number 2. 2 questions. I think last class, how many questions I gave you last class to write? 4, 5 I must have given.
No, we did tissues. So we did the tissues test.
Acha, tissues.
We did the cells test.
We did
Cells and tissues.
हाँ,
Ma'am, can we do the tissue test again today?
क्यों?
Prepared for it. Yes.
You have prepared for it. Okay.
Yes.
I'll
I'm
ask.
not prepared.
I'll ask. So when are you going to prepare after exams?
Ma'am, oral questions.
Ah,
We did 5 questions. Then you gave us the board.
on this chapter.
And
No?
last time we did cells, ma'am, not tissues. That time we did fundamental rate of living.
हाँ, चलो. Now write it. Where are you up to? तुमको करना क्या है? लिखने के लिए UT has provided you such nice benches. हाँ? थोड़ा?
हम थोड़ा सा ये
Congested है।
ऐसा वो क्या ना ऐसे बैठने के लिए ऐसे
Okay. अच्छा.
फिर मैं वो बाहर जाते तो इसलिए पीठ पे लगती
Oh my God. Meet me problem.
है सब को मेरे पीछे बैठ अब मैं पीछे नहीं हो सकता
Oh. At this age, when you do a lot of comfort, your forthcoming years are going to be very hard. This age, your body can take hard work. If at this age you do hard work, your forthcoming years you can excel. Excel and at the same time relax and at that time you can rest on your recliner. अभी अगर recliner की आदत डाल दोगे तो तब कौन सा क्या चीज पे सोना है किस पे बैठना है? Make a habit of sitting right on this right now. Your body can take it.
मुझे लगा तरीके आप पढ़ाई के बारे में
मुझे भी तो वही लगा.
मैं देखा तो कंफर्टेबल के बारे में फोर्थकमिंग एज मतलब 40 बोल दो
हाँ.
आपने
मुझे लगा-
टेस्ट चेक किया होगा
Why you don't do good?
नो मैम अच्छा कैसे पूछा
तो marks बताना मुझे next time.
आप ही चेक करोगे
No, correction team mostly are different. Teaching team is different, correction team is different.
बस करेक्शन टीम मतलब क्या इधर आते हो लोग
अगर कोई स्टूडेंट बहुत अच्छा करता है या बहुत बुरा करता है then they come and see the student physically.
मैंने बहुत अच्छा किया
They come and
तो इसमें सब
केमिस्ट्री आधा छोड़ना है केमिस्ट्री
वो पेपर्स निकल जाते हैं
फुल मार्क्स
साइंस में साइंस टेस्ट है
बायो केमिस्ट्री मिक्स था बट मैंने सिर्फ बायो अटेम्प्ट किया क्योंकि मैम को मैं बोल रहा था कि मुझे मैम को
20 mark का 15 अच्छा चल
टिश्यूज वाला
okay good let's see number 1 लिखो
हां
what are biotic and abiotic factors that affect the storage of grains? Biotic and abiotic factors that
first
affect.
you have to write the definition of biotic
What are biotic? Do example. What are abiotic? Do example.
which are alive
Acha,
they live
let me finish the question. What are biotic and abiotic factors that affect storage of grains? That affect storage of grains. What are biotic and abiotic factors that affect storage of grains? And full stop. Next part of the same question. Write 2 examples in each case.
what are biotic and abiotic factors we can write inside short
What are biotic and abiotic factors? पहले लिखोगे. Biotic factors are
पहले ये क्वेश्चन है what are biotic
मैं
and
बोलता हूँ
living organisms. Bolo.
That
Ma'am, biotic are the living organisms which affect the crops.
Living organisms that affect the grains, destroy the grains.
Destroy the
For
green
example.
Example लिखो, दो example.
insects and
Biotic factors are living organisms. Any living organism that destroys the grains and the crops. That destroy the grains and the crops.
Miss abiotic में pollution भी आ सकता है?
No. Abiotic is a factor. Abiotic non-living factors.
हाँ, but
Non-living factors like it can be the harmful gases. Pollution is actually a condition. You have to write down factor. Carbon dioxide is a factor. Because of carbon dioxide, pollution is happening. Pollution is not a factor. It is a condition. So pollution कैसे हो सकता है? Abiotic factors, non-living
Organisms which affect the green.
organisms.
no. Living organism.
कौन सा non-living organism है इस planet में?
नहीं.
Non-living
Things.
factors or non-living
What
components.
is it?
Non-living components that affect the crops and grains. Non-living लिखो, कष्ट करो थोड़ा.
इसमें मालूम पड़ी.
Oh. Will you take the pen to write? Non-living factors that affect the storage of grains and non-living factors that affect the storage of grains.
The second question.
Same, no? Biotic and abiotics, two parts. Non-living factors that affect the grains and crops. Example, लिखो non-living. Non-living factors का example.
Moisture and temperature.
Moisture है, temperature है,
फिर carbon dioxide.
sunlight, gases,
Carbon dioxide.
carbon
Nitrogen
dioxide.
नहीं होगा.
Any, it
कोई
can
भी.
be, any.
Oxygen.
When
But nitrogen
oxygen will not harm. Oxygen will always benefit.
Nitrogen will also not harm, right?
Nitrogen basically will not harm a plant. So when you are talking about carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, so you can write harmful gases in one word. Next. नवरात्रि की preparation है. हाँ? नहीं, मुझे लगा तुम prepare कर रहे हो. Now next question you write. Describe the mechanical method of weed control. Describe the mechanical method. Describe the mechanical method of weed control. Describe the mechanical method of weed control. Try to write this answer.
Describe the mechanical
Method of weed control. Describe mechanical method of weed control. लिखो. Describe mechanical. Write in 2-3 sentences. Let's see if you're able to write.
weed का ना.
Weed control. Mechanical method of
Weed.
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 W-E-E-D. Weed control मैंने कहा.
किसी को weed चाहिए.
हाँ. Weed you know.
Plants.
Soil का weed you know.
अरे वो unwanted.
अरे मान मेरे को weed चाहिए.
At this time, think of that. दो सेंटेंस में लिखना है, इससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं लिखना.
मम्मी बोले मत करो पापा. मैंने क्या बोला?
वो चुप रहे.
अगर मिस ने पूछा तो बोलना कोई हमारे साथ नहीं था, ठीक है?
You cannot make the
क्या होता है? क्या होता है?
बता रहे हैं तो कर दो. तो एक्सपीरियंस होगा.
नहीं लिखा पूरा आंसर है
वही लिख रही हूँ
तू भी लिख रहा
मुझे शांति से बैठा था पूरी क्लास शांत से बैठा
जो देखो अकेले बैठने बोला है ना
इसलिए तो यहाँ पे बैठा ना तो मैं आराम से बैठा था यहाँ पे जैसा बैठा
कौन से नहीं लिखे थे फिर निकाली जिस दिन ये नाम आती है उस दिन कुछ तो लगा नहीं रहते
अबे ये नाम तो भाई दिमाग
नहीं
बहुत लगा था हमको
क्या कुछ तो लगा
वो अंकल है
अंकल नहीं भैया है वो
अंकल भी तो थे उस साइड बोल रहा था
बेटी बिना हमारे
डन
यस
क्या लिखा
वीक कंट्रोल मेथड्स
मैं आंसर बोल मैंने इस बुक से नहीं
अच्छा तुम्हारा आंसर सुनने के लिए मुझे डर लग रहा है
Let's देखो weed control is a method when we pluck out the unwanted plants or we use to fertilize it.
we used to
Sow. When we sow, we get the nutrients by the
this increases the fertility of the soil. Okay. So what is
Weed control method also include mechanical removal of weeds from cultivated fields during the early stages.
what do you have written Arya?
Weed control method also include mechanical removal.
Acha, you have copied exactly from the volume.
From here.
You also.
Not here.
My question itself was write down one or explain the mechanical method.
Like it's just like plug.
The mechanical method. What is
Mechanical
mechanical method involves the uprooting of the unwanted plants or the weeds. Uprooting
or plucking out the
or plucking out. So uprooting or plucking out, that is what you have to write down in 2 sentences. बहुत अच्छा था. Next is we move on to another concept, that is animal husbandry. What is meant by animal husbandry? The definition of animal husbandry should always be written as the process of caring, rearing and breeding of animals in scientific method. So when we are talking about all these time that we were talking about was of what? We were talking about plants. Now we are going to talk about animals. Animal husbandry here. It's a basic definition that you get in your paper also. What is the definition? What are some of the key terms that should be there in your answer? The key term that should be there in your answer is rearing, breeding, rearing, breeding and caring.
feeding.
Feeding, rearing, breeding.
caring में feeding नहीं किया तो मर जाएंगे.
किसमें?
caring में feeding नहीं किया.
Caring में feeding शायद नहीं भी हो सकता है. Because caring would always mean how are you giving them the hygienic environment and how are you giving them vaccination proper.
बिना खाने के vaccination दिया तो मर ही जाएंगे.
No, not necessarily.
this खाना नहीं चाहिए मर ही जाएंगे.
No, this word will not include this.
Okay.
And this will not include this. When you are talking about your mother may give you food 3 times, breakfast दे दिया, lunch दे दिया, dinner दे दिया. But she may not give you any supplements for the healthy growth of your bones and teeth. हो ही सकता है.
हो नहीं सकते. हो नहीं सकते क्या?
तुमको क्या वो repeat telecast बार
रिकॉर्डिंग सुन लेना
हाँ?
रिकॉर्डिंग सुन लेना.
He's so smart. First bench पे बैठ के smart.
Last class से बहुत smart.
हो गया ना?
एक कॉल में बहुत कुछ हो सकता है.
एक कॉल में.
कॉल नहीं कॉल ना किया.
मीटअप
हुआ था ना.
तो मेरा जो डोज रहता है ना वो ऐसा ही रहता है, एकदम स्लो रहता है लेकिन इफेक्टिव रहता है.
बट ना भी आपकी क्लास
मेरा आपका डोज
ये ठीक नहीं है.
क्या मेरे क्लास का ठीक नहीं था?
नहीं नहीं, ये आपके क्लास में शांत बैठे, दूसरे टीचर्स को परेशान करते हैं आप, उसके उनको वापस बुलाइए।
हाँ तो फिर एक और डोज उसको तो अभी हायर डोज देना पड़ेगा।
हैं?
हाँ नहीं
नहीं
तो ऐसे
ये
एक
साहब
डोज
ने
में
मेरे को भी दे दिया डोज।
तुमको तो कुछ डोज दिया ही नहीं।
मुझे बहुत डोज मिल गया और 3 और 1 2
फोन भूल गया उस बेचारे का, नया फोन मिल गया।
कैसे फोन? ओ
मम्मी ने तोड़ दिया।
गुस्से से?
हाँ
ऐसे फेड टाइप होनी चाहिए जोर से।
तो फिर नया मिला ना?
हाँ
नया मिला नहीं अभी तक, पुराना यूज कर रहे हो।
दिखा वो स्क्रीन में नहीं टूटा, ऐसा कैसे हो सकता
इसलिए
है?
मेरे भाई का पुराना फोन है
और वो टूटा वाला कहाँ गया?
घर पे, मैं क्यों लाऊंगा?
I really don't understand. Should I scold you?
No.
Or should I now?
Very cute guys. Very cute.
मम्मी ने गुस्से से फोन तोड़ दिया. So that much irritation you gave your parent, and you are not even sorry for it.
बस मैं
But
बहुत
पुराना
sorry.
पुराना फोन क्यों लाओ? तुम्हारा कितना स्टेटस में लग रहा है? पुराना फोन में क्यों लाओ?
अरे मतलब तू
If your mommy takes away her name from you and father takes away, who knows you today? Nobody. जो फोन भी जो तुम लेके घूम रहे हो वो उनका ही मर्जी है. So the first thing that you should always remember is not to irritate your parent anyhow, not to make them sad and not to give them any feeling of
Trouble.
insult
or trouble.
Yes.
And
now write down the definition. What is animal husbandry? 1 mark answer.
rearing, caring,
लिखो.
feeding, breeding.
लिखो. The scientific method of
वैसे ऐसे जरूरी है scientific
definition.
बस उतना ही ना.
Scientific method of all these terms should be there in your answer. The scientific method of rearing, caring, feeding, and breeding. Rearing, caring, feeding, and breeding of domestic animals. Do we talk about rearing, caring, feeding of the tiger and the lion?
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Tigers.
Miss होता है.
Not they are not economically important animals.
Miss caring, rearing, breeding इतना नहीं होता जितना सारे.
No, caring, rearing, breeding only in the zoo or the sanctuaries. That is different.
Miss मैं एक बोलता हूँ नाम क्या होगा?
These are exceptions.
No, miss.
These are exceptions. These are exceptions because the lion and the tiger, these are not commercially important animals. The
Lions and tigers are expensive.
Not only expensive, they are not commercially important animals.
उनको बचपन से देखभाल करेंगे तो ही आपके साथ रहेंगे, नहीं तो आपको
मेरे साथ रहेगा.
I'm giving an example.
So now that we are talking about, I talk about the cat. The scientific method of rearing, caring, breeding, and feeding of domestic animals. Remember, here we are only talking about the cattle, the sheep, goat, okay, the ox and the buffalo, the camel and the pig, all these type of animals actually, because these are commercially important.
सिर्फ domestic animals.
Only domestic, because we are not talking about the wild
There are
animals.
how many types of animals?
How many types? 2 types, majorly 2 types. Domestic and wild. Wild, basically we are talking about which are
Lions and tigers.
no commercial importance actually. They don't have
Commercial importance मतलब
commercial importance in the sense for those type of animals it is majorly recreation, and after death, yes, their hides and skin may be to some extent used, but they are not reared and cared and fed only for getting products. So that is also one thing. And second is since as it is they are decreasing in number, so the process of breeding is as it is becoming difficult for some, and it's very expensive also at the same time.
Because breeding करना expensive.
Breeding करना expensive हो रहा है because when you talk about these different type of animals, the varieties are decreasing. The varieties are decreasing, and since these are bigger animals, the process, the time and the process of growth, all these things are difficult. And since it is not done, that's the reason also why their numbers are decreasing. Today, if I talk about the number of the cow and the pig and the sheep, is it decreasing? No, because it's easy to care, easy to take care, and easy to handle them. Next is when we are talking about what are some of the main purposes. Right? What are some of the main purposes? We'll answer all this in the form of questions. All this coming in. Now, what is the main purpose of breeding this type of animals? Can you tell me? Now, more than half of the world is breeding these different type of animals, no? But for what?
Milk, chicken for eggs and
So
cow for milk.
So you should write for food.
Yes, ma'am.
For food.
And chicken is sold.
And
Chicken is sold and eaten by.
so food. So I would say, if I'm talking
food.
about rearing, caring any animal for flesh or egg or milk, like the cattle, for food, generally food. That's all we want. So that's what I'm talking about. Can you think of another
Commercial.
purpose? एक तो हो गया food. What else? पूरा period नहीं लेना.
Miss,
What is cattle? One particular type of cattle is
Food.
bred for milk.
bread for milk.
Breeding का past is bred. Now that we are talking about, are we not talking about the buffalo and the ox?
Cows कैसे breed?
Miss food क्या था? Miss, ma'am for
Cows
clothes.
only.
Miss
Cows
clothes.
will, ox will not.
Miss for clothes. For
For clothes, wool, fur, all these things. Okay. And what is
For
the
leather.
For leather products.
Miss leather किससे बनता है?
I may talk about hide, skin. So I may also talk about, is it not when we are talking about a whole lot of animals, is it not also for labor?
Snake के कौन से Sorry, I said leather.
Leather is majorly when you talk about the hide of the cattle or the camel or the crocodiles or the snakes.
Camel का leather कैसे होता है? Camel की skin तो soft होती है.
Camel, so there are so
तो
many.
मिस जो लेदर पहनते हो उसमें वो होता है
Camel होता है.
हम लोग animal पहनते हैं.
Leather.
जैसे animal पहनते हैं.
लेदर नहीं लेंगे अभी से
हाँ?
अभी से लेदर नहीं
मत ले.
तो पहले ना पहले.
So now
अभी से सीधा सांप का लेंगे
साल
ऊंची वाला बैग
साफ का बेड में है मैंने साफ का
make
बेड
bags out of your torn bed sheets and bed covers. That's it.
इसमें मैंने अभी साफ को पहना है
So now, when we are talking about what are the two main purpose? What are the two main purpose? Number one, food, and number two, labor. Now that I talk
Miss.
about
number 2 labor नहीं
number two, this is not the area of portion. Products तो बहुत सारे हैं. वो ज़्यादा in your syllabus they are वो ज़्यादा important है. I'll give you the number of the head of the department of CBSE. NCR तो तुम एक बार उससे बात कर लो कि आपने क्या सिलेबस बनाया वो प्रोडक्ट्स इंक्लूड
हम लोग
नहीं
सब
किया.
मिलके
मतलब-
meeting करते हैं.
मिस एक कॉमन सेंस ही नहीं अभी देखो लेबर
कॉमन सेंस इज रेयर वो तुम्हारे में है.
मिस मैं बता दो तो सही में मेरा पॉइंट अच्छा लगा
I know that is there, but it is not there in your portion. In your portion, they want you to majorly understand this and this. क्योंकि products तो बहुत तुमने lower standards में भी सीखा है. So products is not now there. Of course we know products तो बहुत सारे हैं. Here you are trying because the chapter is about food production. Majorly food production related क्या है? तो labor नहीं होगा तो food production नहीं होगा. And basically food, animal itself is a source of food. So इसीलिए we are talking majorly surrounding that concept.
मिस हमको कोई खाता होगा
So far,
मिस खाते ना ट्राइब्स
हाँ खाते हैं ना.
unless and until you enter the jungle and then you are lost, then perhaps yes.
कौन नहीं
Other
मिस एक नेटफ्लिक्स में सीरीज है
नहीं उसमें ये रहते हैं ना man eaters रहते हैं ना humans क्या नाम है उनका मुझे पता है
मिस एक हम जैसे जा रहे हैं किसी में फिर कोई आइलैंड में आ जाए
people नहीं
फिर आइलैंड में वहां पर इतने ट्राइब्स होते हैं कि वो उनको
They
खा
are-
लेते हैं ऐसे जैसे काट के
still there are in
cannibals मैम cannibals रहते हैं ना
cannibals, yes. Still there are so many races of humans. Still there are in certain parts of the world races of human. They yes human
मिस बहुत प्रोटीन होगा हमें
are the maybe yes, but
फिर मिस
that is
लिस्टिंग
not
कर
a
दो
normal way of food, no? That is not a normal way of food. Now, if I talk about the
बस चिकन को भी बैन कर देना चाहिए, नॉर्मल वे नहीं.
but
चिकन बैन करें हम मर जाएंगे.
more than 75% of the world is consuming
वही तो
chicken
मैं-
and the product.
मैं बन गया ना PM बैन, ऐसे मैं भी खाता हूँ.
हाँ, तो कल से तुम बंद कर दो.
फिर हम लोग ऐसे तो
बंद करने बट फिर मैं जिम फ्री कैसे बनूंगा?
What do you think?
फिर हम लोग को फिश खाना पड़ेगा यार, हम प्रोटीन्स के लिए.
अंडा
नहीं नहीं, सिर्फ चिकन नॉनवेज वाला है.
नॉनवेज और
अंडा भी नहीं खा सकते.
So
सलाद
before-
फिर दूध भी नहीं पी सकते, वीगन हो जाएंगे. फिर घी भी नहीं बनेगा.
before you start teaching anybody,
हाँ.
you have to start practicing that. So you practice this for
हाँ,
1
पानी
week.
practice.
You practice this for 1 week and then tell me that ma'am, I have already done it. I don't want all you also to do it. We will follow. पहले तुम करके
पक्का.
पक्का. Now, when we are talking about food, so what I said, animal husbandry क्या है? Basically, what are the methods by which food production is improved and food production के लिए labor की जरूरत है. So now, are we not talking about variety of different type of animal forms, especially the cattle? They are used as labor, no, for the plowing of the land, carrying loads, etc. Take that part of the chapter. Main purpose क्या है? क्या लिखना है? What are the two main purposes? What are the two main purposes for food and labor? For food and labor. ठीक करो. For food and labor. Then next is we come across the next part. Indian cattle. Now यहाँ पे just underline करो. These are just 1 mark questions. कोई concept नहीं समझने के लिए कुछ भी नहीं है यहाँ पे. Indian cattle. What is the biological name of Indian cattle? Bos indicus.
Bos indicus.
काउस.
वो तुम्हारा boss है.
Boss indicus मतलब क्या?
Cow.
It's the name of the animal biological
If
name.
boss Bubali.
Cow का.
Biological. Indicus
is boss Bubali.
pubalis.
Pubalis.
Pubalis. Underline करो. You will be asked.
शेरवा उसको वाला बनाती है.
बॉस अब जब किसी के ऊपर गुस्सा आ जाए तो बॉस पुबालिस करके बुलाना. बॉस पुबालिस.
तो फिर मिस और किसका दूध दे रहे
कैटल है, कैमल है, बफेलो है.
तो मिस कैमल का क्या होगा? बॉस कैमल का लोग.
Boss is only for cattle. Boss is only for cattle. Did you underline?
Boss sheep उसका boss police.
Boss is the genus name. Boss diversity तुम लोगों ने सीखा नहीं. In that chapter you would
Diversity of fundamental unit of
diversity of fundamental unit. हाँ.
Diversity is never wanted.
नहीं diversity of fundamental unit. ऐसा कोई chapter?
नहीं diversity is never of organism था जो पूरी गया.
Diversity of fundamental unit उसने पढ़ा हो.
मैंने दोनों पढ़ा है ना, तुमने दोनों
बायो लेक्चर के बाद तुम लोग सब उससे पूछना व्हाट इज द कांसेप्ट ऑफ द चैप्टर.
अभी कर.
This concept of the chapter
मैं अगर
is to
सीखूंगी तो
understand.
मैं मेरा सब्जेक्ट भूल जाऊँ. हाँ, वो हम बाद में सीखेंगे.
So mix. Fusion है दोनों chapter का.
So वो फ्यूजन तुम इन लोगों को सिखाते हैं.
आगे. Extra spicy.
Now next is, did you underline this too?
Yes.
Next is we talk about exotic varieties. What is the meaning of exotic or foreign varieties? Foreign varieties means
Like epic levels.
varieties of other countries जो हमारे country में नहीं मिलता है. That is called exotic.
Miss खाना chicken.
Pretty much expensive.
Exotic anything. When I
Anything.
talk about foreign breed, I talk about foreign
Miss
brands. Say suppose I may talk.
ओए.
मैंने बोला.
Say suppose what is the meaning of? There are two terms. Try to understand. You will be asked in your paper. I may talk about two terms like this. One is known as indigenous. What is indigenous? Of our own country. Indian, say suppose. And if I talk about foreign or exotic, what is the meaning of this? Foreign or exotic? Of other countries. Of other countries, which are not of our own country. Underline. What are some of the important varieties? Brown Swiss, Jersey.
Jersey guy.
Brown Swiss. These are basically the breeds of of Switzerland, Germany, Australia. These are breeds of cattle of those countries.
हम Jersey guy देखे हैं.
हाँ, Jersey cows only these are. So now that we are talking
मिस हम लोग जो जर्सी पहनते हैं.
अरे यार.
तुम्हारा क्या होगा? Only one.
Scientist joke.
Now, underline this. What are indigenous and what are indigenous? Now that we talk about the boss indicas and boss bivalves was what? Exotic. This was exotic. You are asked in the paper. Name 2 exotic breeds. Name 2 indigenous breeds.
Jersey, Swiss.
Jersey, brown Swiss. These are
Boss
exotic. Okay. Boss bivalves. Next, underline red Sindhu. These are all the varieties of the northern part of our country. These are all breeds of cattle, like dogs. Dogs have variety of breeds, no?
तो रेड सिंधी डॉग का है
अरे क्या? Do you understand English कि नहीं समझ रहे?
रेड सिंधी कौन सा है
I am talking about what? I am talking about cattle, no? I said जैसे dogs के breeds होते हैं, cats के भी breeds होते हैं.
कैट्स की बोल रहे हो आप रेड सिंधी
Cats की बोल रही हूँ.
अच्छा ब्राउन और स्विस कैट्स
I think I cannot teach you. I don't
मैं
have-
सही में पूछ रहा हूँ मेरे को डाउट है
Is this? I think this person. We are understanding. नीरज को भी आजकल समझ में आ रहा है.
क्या बोल रहे हैं
We are talking about varieties of cattle, obviously.
और मिस एग्जांपल के लिए ब्रीड जैसे रहते हैं डॉग सेम से
I am telling you, you are very much aware about the breeds of dogs. Same like that, cattle also have breeds. Elephant also has got breeds. You know, so we talk about elephant with the long tusk and the white elephant. So these are breeds of
तो
elephant.
इस कैटल में बहुत सारे आते हैं
Obviously, there are so many breeds of cattle.
सबसे भी सही थे
So many breeds. So now these are just 5 breeds.
but
that
cats क्या देता हो cats
Cats, fur, body hair. The body hair are used in so many purposes. So now that we are talking about वो सोचेगा body hair का क्या हो सकता है?
so इस cats का body hair का क्या नाम
है?
वही तो
These are made variety of different type of products like those mats and these
Mats?
the so
पर्शियन कैट का बनता है बहुत फर रहता है
बहुत ज़्यादा
पर्शियन कैट
so many
तुम
different type
इसको
of
पैर में बाल में हमेशा पैर रखते हैं
मत रखना आपसे
मतलब ऐसे हो जाए
बस चिकन के फेदर यूज होते हैं कार्पेट
निकालते तो हैं
not actually
मिस पंछी के होते हैं
for other birds which we talk about the squirrel not peacock
मिस peacock के यूज होते हैं कार बनाने के
that is not the feathers of small birds which are softer which are used in the mattresses. The mattresses are extra soft. Very expensive. These are not sparrow. These are small birds. Those those what are those called? Like the dove and all. Small birds are there. These are special birds. Pigeon and all no. The feathers are nothing special in there.
मिस सोप बोल रहा है डॉग
मैं सोप में हमेशा देखता हूँ
चलो at least dove के साथ soap तो उसको पता है.
शैम्पू भी है कंडीशनर भी है
मैं तो मेरे को हमेशा लोगो दिखता है डब मैं बना के दिखाता
नहीं.
अब हो गया
Then underline this. So underline the last word. Crossbreeding. What is crossbreeding?
crossbreeding बैन होना चाहिए कंटिन्यू होना चाहिए
What is
क्रॉस ब्रीडिंग
what is crossbreeding?
अलग-अलग breeds
अम्मान
Breeding. What is the meaning of crossbreeding?
अलग-अलग breeds को breeding करवाते हैं
Now you have already learned some varieties. See, suppose I talk about this is the indigenous variety of our country, and then I talk about Jersey, which is a breed of Germany. Exotic. So if I talk about breeding between these two, this is what we are talking about as crossbreeding.
Crossbreeding.
Okay.
बैन
So take that part. Take complete from
सब नेक्स्ट क्लास में पहले एक्सप्लेन करेगा
बहुत सारा
बस मैं एकदम पढ़ गया
बाय
देखो मैं नेक्स्ट क्लास आऊंगा ही नहीं बहुत पढ़ेगा
इसी के साउंड बन रहा है
नहीं बैठना
नहीं बैठना पड़ेगा
नीरज तू भी बंक कर
अरे आज नहीं है
कोई नहीं है चल ये जा रहे हैं सीबीएस नहीं हां
तू बैठ हां
फोन में कागज का फोन इधर नहीं है ये पॉकेट में नहीं है
तो बंद क्यों कर दिया वो मेरा हां
तू करना है
बैठ नहीं कर रहा
बैठ
चल अरे आरुष में काटी क्यों